Okay, imagine the entire history of our planet, all 4.5 billion years of it, squished down into a single book. Now, most of that book is just packed with incredible stories of life. But there are 5 chapters in there. 5 chapters where the story almost slams shut for good. Today, we're going to flip right to those 5 apocalyptic chapters.
It's a pretty wild thought, isn't it? I mean, we all think about the extinction event, the big one with the dinosaurs and the asteroid. But what if I told you that was just the 5th one on the list? Yeah, the real history of life on this planet is actually a story of survival through 5, count 'em, 5, separate world-shattering catastrophes.
So our story kicks off way, way back, over 440 million years ago. And I need you to just forget everything you think you know about what Earth looks like. There are no forests, no birds, not even a single insect buzzing around on land. The whole vibrant, complicated, dramatic story of life, it's all happening right here, under the water.
And man, what a wild place it was. These warm, shallow seas were basically a bustling metropolis of some of the strangest creatures you can imagine. We're talking armored fish the size of a car, like the Dunkleosteus, these little creepy-crawly trilobites all over the seafloor, and giant sea scorpions. Life was absolutely booming. It was diversifying. It was getting kind of comfortable, which on ancient Earth is a very dangerous state to be in. So the first 2 world enders were brutal, but in completely different ways. Over on the left, you've got the Ordovician Extinction. A gigantic chunk of land just drifted over the South Pole, and that kicked off a massive ice age. All the world's water got locked up in glaciers, and the sea levels just plummeted, basically draining the very places where almost all life existed. Then over on the right, you get the Devonian Extinction. And this is ironic. The planet's incredible new invention, forests, became an accidental killer. Their roots turned up the soil, washing way too many nutrients into the ocean. This caused these huge algae blooms. And when all that algae died, it just sucked all the oxygen out of the water, creating these vast, suffocating dead zones.
And the impact, it was just staggering. The Ordovician freeze wiped out 85% of all marine species. Gone. The Devonian event, the one caused by the trees, that knocked out about 75% of all life on the entire planet. We've just seen 2 near total resets of life on Earth, and believe it or not, we're only just getting started.
Look, those first 2 were absolutely devastating, but they were really just the warm-up act. What came next? Well, it was the single worst catastrophe in the entire history of life. It was so bad, it wasn't just called an extinction. It earned a much more terrifying name: the Great Dying.
Okay, so picture this. It's about 250 million years ago, and life has finally, firmly conquered the land. On the megacontinent of Pangaea, these fantastic beasts are roaming everywhere. You've got these incredible apex predators like the sail-backed Dimetrodon, and these truly terrifying saber-toothed Gorgonopsians. The ecosystems were complex, they were diverse, they were stable, or so it seemed.
And then came the recipe for total and complete oblivion. Up in what we now call Siberia, volcanoes started erupting. And they didn't stop. Not for a day, not for a year, but for hundreds of thousands of years. They just pumped unimaginable amounts of CO2 into the air. The planet became a furnace, the oceans were starved of oxygen, and literally everything, everywhere, began to die. There's really no other way to put it. This was it. This was the moment life on Earth came the closest it has ever come to just being completely and utterly erased. 96%. Just let that number sit with you for a second. 96% of every single species in the ocean gone. 70% of everything walking around on land vanished. This was the great filter of life on our planet, which raises the question, what could possibly survive that? Well, from the literal ashes of the Great Dying, a new world started to emerge. It was a time of recovery, of new beginnings, and it was about to completely reshape the planet, setting the stage for a brand new dynasty of giants. So the Triassic period saw this whole new cast of characters just scrambling for dominance. You had the really tough survivors like the pig-sized Lystrosaurus spreading all across the hot, dry Pangaea. Terrifying new predators like the crocodile-like Postosuchus were ruling the land. And, scurrying around in the shadows, were these small, kind of unassuming creatures, the very first true mammals, and a new group of reptiles that were just getting started, the dinosaurs. But of course, the planet wasn't done yet.
Now the very ground beneath their feet became the enemy. As Pangaea started to violently tear itself apart, the rift zones kicked off another round of immense, long-lasting volcanic eruptions. It was like this terrible echo of the Great Dying all over again. The planet got super hot, and the oceans once more choked for air.
And the result was the planet's fourth mass extinction. It wiped out around 75% of all species. It basically cleared the board again, taking out a lot of the big, crocodile-like reptiles and other groups that had been keeping those early dinosaurs in check. You know, every catastrophe creates an opportunity. And with their main competition suddenly gone, that one group of survivors that had been kind of living in the shadows finally had its chance. They would seize this now empty world and rise up to dominate the entire planet for the next 135 million years. And now it was the time of the dinosaurs. This is the era we all know, the one we all love. This is the age of titans, and their absolutely spectacular, fiery end.
For an almost unimaginable amount of time, the dinosaurs were the undisputed masters of Earth. The planet belonged to them. And you know the star players, right? The absolute icons of this age. The mighty Tyrannosaurus, the tank-like Triceratops, the towering Brachiosaurus. They filled every corner of the globe. They built an empire that seemed like it was destined to last forever. But it wouldn't. Their end came from the sky. It probably started as a new little star in the daytime, one that just kept getting brighter and brighter until it was as bright as the sun. And the impact, when it finally hit, was just unimaginable. We're talking the power of billions of atomic bombs all at once. This triggered mile-high tsunamis, continent-shattering earthquakes. But the worst part was still to come. A rain of superheated debris literally set the entire planet on fire. And that was followed by a decade of darkness as a cloud of dust blocked the sun, collapsing the food chain from the bottom all the way to the top.
So, the final tally for number 5, 75% of all life on Earth gone. It was the end of the age of dinosaurs. But, and this is the important part, it was not the end of life. Down in the rubble of their fallen empire, small, burrowing creatures huddled, just waiting for the sky to clear. Among them were the ancestors of all modern birds, and, crucially for our story, those tiny mammals who were about to inherit the Earth.
And that really brings us to this incredibly humbling perspective. The dinosaurs ruled this planet for 164 million years. We, modern humans, have been around for about 300,000. It is a staggering difference in time that puts our own tiny moment in the spotlight into a whole new, profound light. So you see, life on Earth has been defined by these incredible cycles of destruction and rebirth. After weathering 5 apocalypses, the story just kept going, and now it continues with us, which leaves all of us with one final, pretty provocative thought. What is our chapter in this incredible, violent, and beautiful history going to look like?